It is going to hurt in general as they come into these fights. BB so far ahead right now, Freak. This Baron buff could cause that tower to go down.
This is do or die right now for M5. There's no teleport on Stanley. He's only a half lane away, but they did poke off the Banshee's Veil from Anivy. You can see that ticking down on the bottom right of your screen. It's about halfway down. That's really their time to go in. They need to get toys out in the fight.
Oh, very nice stop there. Kendra on the right side. They get that. Oh, Little Ball's going down instantly as he gets caught out. They take down Mistake. They have the initiation on this fight, but they choose to halt on it, push out their lanes, and figure out where they can go from here.
So much damage being dealt, and you just saw the explosive cast forcing that fight to go the way they wanted. Lil Ball's just not tanky enough to withstand all of that pressure. But again, there was no counterattack available for M5 FenQ. In fact, TPA will even get the Dragon for themselves despite losing 2-0. They're even going to try for this Golem right here that, you know, again, yes, losing 2 kills is a gold swing. It's about 750 gold, actually more like 800 gold for getting that kill taken away, but it's still not that big of a deal. They've still got map control, and they're still ready to put the advantage on. But now, we're getting to that point where gold matters less and less. That late game finally starting to happen. M5 channeling their fellow continent, CLG.EU, into their gameplay and force themselves in that late game. New Kog'Maw will be incredibly difficult to deal with at the end of this game. So right now, what I think is that a Frozen Heart needs to come out. I think from Needly here, she needs to put that on and slow down the attack speed of that opposition, because Kog'Maw's now really scary, Shyvana's now really scary, and even Yorick's going to be a bit difficult. He's got that Trinity Force, he's got some decent damage output, but it's mostly to survive Kog'Maw. Again, these team comps are about bashing their skulls into each other in the front line. They've got to withstand the damage from Genji's Kog'Maw here.
We saw how much pressure Gosu was getting in the early part of the game. He really just went for an item that's going to facilitate Kog'Maw 100%, as well as Diamond procs, but really Stark's, or that Zeke's Herald rather, the lifesteal as well as attack speed, just buffing up, and it's really going to be going to Kog'Maw. You'll see them really sticking together. Gosu has been forced out of the fight, and Stanley's been doing a great job at that. He can only blood boil once. It lasts quite a long time, but that aura from Zeke's is not going to be assisting the team. So we'll see if Stanley goes ahead, focuses Gosu one more time in the fight. They're also missing out a few times now. I think the last time we saw Gosu use Absolute Zero in a fight was in bottom lane.
It's been, you know, quite a while overall, and that's, you know, really, really significant that, you know, that Absolute Zero is going to be a huge deal, because there's actually very few interrupts for it. Now, it won't hit all that hard. He's only level 12, and there is a front line to deal with, and BB and Toys, if they play it right, shouldn't be hit by that damage whatsoever. But the thing is, it's still a significant amount of crowd control, and it really will mess with the front line, not allowing them to kite, and it really just lets Genja melt that front line more. That's what this is all about. It's just, again, bashing your skulls into the skulls of your opponents, and just saying who's got more gold, who does more damage. And so the M5 front line is there to just lock up the TPA front line and say, Genja, look, you've been cloned, you've got Blood Boil, hope you got some items, man. I add Last Whisper and Phantom Dancer all in here now. He's hit that late game point. It's now the Kog'Maw show. TPA needs an answer.
It is kind of crazy how that takes such an effective turn here. He is going to be outputting probably more damage than Ezreal. The 4 or 5 shot Kog'Maw kills could be coming out now, especially with that Blood Boil on. He's going to be able to drop somebody and be out of the fight and play even safer Kog'Maw than usual. Alex is trying to push this lane out. Stanley continuously staying top lane. You can see him communicating with his team on the screen at the bottom as they just kind of chat this one out and figure out how they're going to continuously push this lane. With that Baron down, you can see Little Balls can focus down bottom. They don't really have to worry about too many objectives. And you see a good aggress onto Stanley. He's pushed out of the fight though. That blue buff helping Alex to get that ultimate back in just under 60 seconds. It's actually on a 40-second cooldown just about now. And we'll see, it is rank 3. Everybody's just about level 18 except for the junglers and supports. Diamond knows they are going through his jungle. This would not be the engage that Moscow 5 is looking for.
No, they're just going to keep stealing these buffs. And again, this is TPA knowing that they have map control, and in a general fight, especially in the jungle, TPA is happy to just fight like, oh my gosh, Genja, there's a crescendo, he's going to get almost taken down!
Oh, he does live though. However, Yorick ulti coming in, it looks like he wants to get back into this fight, but the Bio Arcane Barrage not even hitting anybody. He throws out one auto attack that entire fight. Very unfortunate. He did take a lot of damage, Freak. Two blinking emblems right now for Moscow 5 as this tower is being pushed. We do see Alex coming down to help his team, but Stanley is by himself up top, pushing that turret. This is not looking good for Moscow 5. The ultimate onto Little Balls. They are going to drop Alex. The Guardian Angel triggering his Diamond. Dragon's Descent to the middle of the fight to blow cooldowns for his team. Toys, so much damage going down to him, and they are able to back this one out as he comes up from Rebirth. BB focusing onto the inhibitor. It looks like they drop it. Stanley doing so much work up top, going to drop his own inhibitor as well. 2 go down at the 42-minute mark, and TPA looks to just hang out in Moscow 5's base.
Right now a 3-on-4, but they're getting pushed out. Oh my gosh, the counterattack goes to Pepper and goes down. They've now got a 4-on-2 on the map, and Baron's got to be soon. It's in 10 seconds. That is the most fortunately timed fight ever for TPA because they're going to have complete Baron control. There's no way this gets stolen away, and that was just a perfect setup. They dealt so much damage at the start that they forced Genja out, and as soon as Genja had to go heal, you knew TPA had map control. They could simply just push their faces onto that bottom turret, and they would have the damage to kill it out. And you saw them be a little bit pensive and finally say, no, Genja's out of the fight. It's okay, guys. He's out. Let's go. Let's pick this one up. Even Mundo will respawn in time to allow Baron buffs to go to everybody. Lil Ball's so tanky now, and you look at his build. I like this build. He's got double Negatron Cloak on top of that Warmogs because he knows that with a Randuin's and a Warmogs, the highest source of damage is actually Genja's W pass. It's actually the Bioarcane Barrage, so he's adding magic resist to mitigate that. It's going to be so hard for Mundo to drop down here. He's going to be incredibly tanky. You won't see Mundo die again, most likely, unless he gets way too aggressive.
A lot of the team as well went for those Ninja Tabi boots. Looking for the damage from Ezreal, but that's not going to be helping anymore. There's crowd control that they're getting locked up with that is allowing these fights to continuously happen. Stanley teleporting in, so we're not going to see some kind of cheeky backdoor strat. They're all going for the same lane. They're all going to be, not same lane rather, but they're not going to be jumping lanes. They're going to pick that lane and pressure it down. Looks like mid is going to be the first choice with Little Balls in the option to run towards top with his teammate BB. They're gathering together now in front of this turret. The attack speed from Essence Flux is out for both Little Balls. There goes the exploding cast. Looks like they will initiate this fight on. The turret goes down. Darian gets caught out. He can't even ultimate the Crescendo, stopping them from using the abilities. Diamond Prox goes down. The inhibitor is open. The double kill comes out. Moscow 5 looking very grim right now. Taipei Assassins look to take down the last Nexus turret, and they will drop Moscow 5 from the League of Legends Championship playoffs.
And would you look at that, the cheers, the yells, and the look of relief all mixed at the same time on their faces. Taipei Assassins are the first team to make it to the World Finals.
And online in a major tournament, the first to take out Moscow 5.
Well, yeah, as far as internationally goes, they are the first international team to ever beat M5, joining CLG.EU in the annals of history. Saying, guys, we made it this far. Would you look at that play? And that was exactly what they said it took. It was early openings. Stanley crushing faces top lane. Absolutely took out Darian. I mean, Darian is scary. He didn't feed. He didn't make any bad mistakes, but that lane matchup was brutal. You saw him take the turret down about 12 minutes in. A lot of pressure there. You saw the bottom lane come out ahead. That Sona Ezreal, that counter lane, that was exactly what it took. They knew they were fighting Nunu Cog. They knew it was late game, and they said, yes, M5 BenQ, we know you're late game. We know you will scale like crazy at this game, but we know we can play this game perfectly. We know we can put the pressure on from minute one, win mid, win top, win bottom. A little rocky in the jungle, but that was okay. They won all their carry lanes, every single one of them winning in minions for the first 20 minutes, taking turrets out early on as well, getting control over everything. The Dragon Steel was great, and then once 25 minutes hit, it was, okay, we can bait you at Baron. We've built a 6, 8, 10,000 gold lead. Come at us at Baron. Sweep boards, come at us at Baron. Sweep boards, come at us. What a beautiful play from TPA. Let's get a replay of that last fight with audio from the team.
Damn, awesome.
And look at that. They know that killer instinct is there. None of the calls were even about who to kill because they saw Darian's out of position. We saw it there as well. Darian was definitely catchable. And what I love Mistake did is it wasn't just crescendo there. It was, let me get in a position. Let me make sure I crescendo 2 people because Darian will die right away. But let's catch Gosu Pepper as well. Let's make sure Nunu drops as well. They got those 2 right off the bat, neither getting to use their ultimates in the fight. Gosu not even getting to exhaust or flash. That's how fast he dropped out in that fight. Not able to finish Mercury Treads, was crowd controlled the entire way in that battle. And then at a 5-on-3 with super minions coming in, there's no way you turn that one around. They got their hands off their mice, their hands off their keyboards, just saying, we know we've got this. We know we've got so much advantage here. We've pushed it all the way through. We were patient, and they made it happen. TPA, I mean, from second one, they knew what they were doing. They knew this was, yes, early game pressure will transition. And that is so confident to do that. where it's not saying, yeah, we'll play a standard game. We think we're better than you. It's like, we know we're on a clock. And it's so scary to play an early game team versus a late game team because you can't slip up. You can't give them that advantage. You can't let them snowball ahead of you because there's no coming back once that happens. But every step of the way, they turned it up and turned it up and turned it up and kept that pressure on and completely collapsed on M5.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first semifinal scorecard in the best of 3, going to a full 3 games with hopes that the next will as well for CounterLogic Europe, going up against the Azubu Frost. An amazing matchup for these two teams as we have our first world finalists in TPA Assassins. They're going to be heading up against, like I said, CounterLogic Europe or Azubu Frost on the stage being built right now behind us for the finals. We can see how the brackets have gone out here. CLG.EU, Azubu Frost and matchup. TPA Assassins versus Moscow 5 BenQ, the much-awaited semifinal match going to TPA Assassins. The final matchup we had before that for our quarterfinals was World Elite going down, actually Team WE rather, going down to CounterLogic Europe. So already amazing matchups on the day. We found a best of 3 going to the final match within our first semifinals. Hopefully the next one will be just as amazing, Freak. Coming up shortly, Azubu Frost, as I said, faces off against CounterLogic Europe to decide who will join the TPA Assassins in the World Finals on Saturday here at the USC's Galen Center. Don't go anywhere. Rivington III and Freak. You're going to have Jat and D-Man next. Stick with us.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and what an absolutely awesome game. I am D-Man, I'm here with Jat, and of course, I'm here with Skara as well, which you can't quite see on your screen at the moment, but we're bringing him in a moment. We've reached the final match. It is Azubu Frost versus CLG.EU. One team, the TPA Assassins, has already advanced to the final on October 13th. What an absolute amazing game. Two teams look to join them shortly. We'll see shortly who will earn the right to get there. But Skara is here. Skara, I'm going to jump straight across to you because we have just seen absolutely amazing games. Firstly, help us break down what we just saw. TPA Assassins beating Moscow 5, the only other team I can think of in history offline in an offline event to beat them in a best of 3.
I think TPA has come into this tournament as by far the most improved team in the shortest period of time. No one expected them to be this good, including like any of the teams at this event. We saw them play the first day, or like against Notch and Sword, and we were just like, oh my god, they're good. Like they blew us away. They had the best games of the day. And today they came back from the most crushing defeat we've had here, by far the most crushing defeat. To be able to 2-0 after they lose a game, it shows incredible mental strength. It shows just great teamwork.
So, Scar, you actually said before we went on that you called this one. Why did you call them to beat M5?
I said, like in the car on the way here with a lot of Riot people or a lot of video crew, I said that like I expected either M5 or TPA to win this tournament. And if M5 was going to lose, I thought they would lose here. Like I thought TPA was looking so good against Notch and Sword that they could potentially beat M5. After the first game, I was really skeptical. I was like, okay, well, M5 is probably going to win. But TPA made me eat my words for the second and third game. They were really, really good.
So in that second and third game, I mean, let's just take it through the series. They got absolutely obliterated in the first one. I think you'd agree. A lot of that was flanking around with Evelyn and just kind of winning team fights. They had it from the start. But then in the second game, even though we've seen how good Toys was on Orianna, they just kind of let it through. Why do you think they did that?
I don't know. I think their bans and picks for the second and third games were a little bit off to me. Like, for instance, obviously they value Nunu and Sona a lot because those are like Ghosty Peppers. And like, he's probably the only support that gets bans on both his supports in these games. And if they were really looking for a Nunu pick with an Ori up, at least I would say like either ban the Orianna as last ban or leave up the Nunu so that if they first pick Ori, you can at least have Nunu plus another champion that you want. I think banning Nunu there was really questionable. Like, I didn't really see the logic behind that. And it just gave up Ori for free, and they were able to completely dominate the game with Orianna.
And what about the Nidalee? What about Stanley? Stanley has
Holy
just
crap.
absolutely bossed it there against Darian. Darian, he picked Yorick both games, and Stanley just said, fine, I'll go Nidalee both games and destroy you. I think he took the turret, I think it was 8 or 9 minutes we were talking about it, and in the second game, and then I think it was 11 minutes.
It was 11 minutes
in
in the third.
Game. Just straight 1v1. Had no help from the junglers.
I think they analyzed M5 really well, and they're like, M5's strength is that their team fight's probably the best in the world. Like, you look at their team fighting, look at their communication during team fights, how they switch targets, how they call targets, how they stick on different targets in the same team fight, and how they get away. They're obviously one of like top 3 in the world at team fighting, and so they're like, okay, we'll pick Nidalee every game and not even look at team fight, especially against a Yorick comp which wants a team fight. All they want to do with Nidalee is split push and see if they can split push M5 to death. It looks like Darian and M5 don't have much experience against Nidalee, AD Nidalee in the solo lane, especially how the Koreans play with Chalice first, and it seemed to be a deciding factor in both games.
So you've actually had to deal with this affair, but I know at least it was Zion Spartan, at least from Team Dynamic, you guys had to play against his Italy fairly often. What is it that you guys do to shut down Italy? Because it seemed like Moscow 5 couldn't quite do it. Is there anything they could have done to stop that? Is there something they could have picked other than York or maybe somewhere else in the team comp to shut down Italy? Or no?
I didn't really hear you. I'm
okay,
sorry.
So, I mean, this is the
Sorry,
beauty
it's
of live.
construction.
There is construction going on right behind us. Just saying, what did Dignitas do more, whether Crumbs does, to shut down Nidalee in that top lane? Obviously, we were saying Zion Spartan was a problem against you guys before.
I think at a certain point, like after the second game, they should have just looked to probably ban Nidalee, like especially if they're looking for a Yorick pick. But even if that wasn't an option, like they didn't want to do that, I think they should have at least anticipated last pick Nidalee, especially when they pick Yorick early again. Like a different top lane pick would have done really well, like Rumble or even Aurelia would have done extremely well against that matchup. But they just gave the matchup away for free again. I think what happened the third game is that they mind gamed themselves into wanting to 1v2 because they thought Nidalee would start bottom again, and they would just send Yorick, because Yorick is a better 1v2 than Nidalee. But unfortunately, they both ended up going top, and Nidalee won the matchup straight up again, and Kog'Maw lost a lane against Sona Ez, which is one of the most dominating 2v2 lane matchups in the game.
And so, I mean, we can talk about, obviously, the venue we're in right now. It's under construction. You can look behind you. It's coming together pretty well since even we came on air, really. You as a player, obviously, you wanted to be here. How would it feel to come into a venue like this and play here? I mean, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, it looks crazy. Like, it looks like I am in like a basketball stadium, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
it is a basketball stadium. Yeah.
Huge. Like,
USC's Galen Center.
Yeah, it's absolutely gigantic. I would love to play here as as a venue. Like, there's a bunch of constructions here, but even with the construction looks cool. Like, that's the best thing I can say about this. Like, even the construction looks amazing. So I can't even wait to see the finished product.
Yeah, I mean, they can see it on the screens right now. Obviously, there's going to be seating down there. There's all sorts of secret stuff planned for you guys that I nearly gave away, actually. I got to make sure I don't give any of these secrets away. And you can see there is obviously the work construction going on there. Now, we've got upcoming. We're going to have Twitter questions coming up shortly. But, I mean, we've got the upcoming match. Azubu Frost versus Counter Logic Gaming EU. Where do you stand on this one? I mean, Counter Logic Gaming EU come through from your group. Obviously, they played you guys. They beat you in the group stage. It was a pretty close run game, though.
I think the teams are fairly equally matched. Like, I feel like both have equal strengths in different areas of the game. I feel like obviously CLG, if this game has been two parts of the coin, CLG has mastered the defensive portion of the game. Like, they're masters of it. They're 100%. Like, they 100% believe in their late game over any other team. And that's what they go with. They go with their strength every game. They try to drag you into their strength and play with you on their terms. And they win every time they do it. It's up to Azubu Frost to look to make plays. To look to make plays with champions like Diana, Malphite, Alistair, stuff they've done before, and have been able to turn the game really, really early into your advantage. Like, I don't think they want to look for a late game comp against CLG.EU just because that's a little bit questionable. I honestly feel like the bans and picks were obviously very important in every game, every series, but in this set of series, like, definitely look to see like Oriana ban and pick almost every game.
So you say that CLG goes for late game every time, and the bans and picks are maybe even more important for this, with the early game comp going out for Azubu and the late game comp obviously coming out for CLG.EU. What would you ban now against CLG.EU? Because WE did seem to have success getting rid of things like Aurelia and Anivia. Do you think they're going to let that stuff through, or do you think they're going to try to ban out some other late game heroes?
I think they're just going to go for Aurelia and Anivia, definitely. Maybe they might let up Aurelia, but I don't think any team will give Anivia to CLG.EU. Not just because Froggen's strength, like, Froggen's obviously one of the best Anivia players by far, but Anivia also lets your team like turtle like perfectly. Like, it is the best, like one of the best wave clears and just the best turtling champion. But Aurelia, like, is a possibility. I can maybe see an Oriana ban or a Karthus ban even, because they've been having a lot of success with that. Really, it's up to Azubu Frost to figure out what exactly they're looking for, because like, if they're looking for like a Malphite-oriented comp, maybe they want to look to bait like a Karthus. Maybe they're looking to maybe they're looking to like bait an Oriana and then look to just dive it with 3 divers. It's really hard to tell, and it's not something that I would recommend, like diving a champion like that. I don't know. It's something that obviously they prepared a long time for this, or at least I saw them taking notes in the backstage, so they definitely come into this match with a sense of like what they would like to play. I'm curious at what they'll come up with.
Okay, so earlier on in the day, we asked you guys to send us some questions, of course. You've been tweeting #LOL Worlds. It's the championship channel that you guys are aiming at, and hopefully here are some of the questions that we're going to be asked. It has come from Captain Kickass. 60% of all champions have been played so far. Do you think there are any sleeper champions awaiting to shine? So any secret tactics tucked away for that final game?
I think
I mean, this is definitely a good question for you guys, because I knew you had a few things tucked away. Obviously,
I feel like there's a lot of really, really strong champions, especially coming up for Season 3. Certain teams like certain champion picks over others, so the teams that win here will stick with like their dedicated like 20 champion pool. But I feel like almost every champion is viable in this game, outside of maybe, I hate to say this because I actually like this champion kind of, like maybe Nasus. I feel like Nasus has now reached like the point where like I'm like, okay, I don't even know what comp he can possibly fit into to be like work in a game. But outside of him, I think everything else can work as long as you put in the time and find a team comp to work around it.
So that would still be like 35% of the champion pool that haven't been picked. Do you think there's anything in particular? Because I mean, all of these teams have played multiple games already. There's nothing left in the tank, you think? Is there a Draven to come out somewhere?
DFG Teemo mid.
AP Teemo maybe.
Seshwani mid.
I feel like the teams have showed a lot. Like, the only team I expect to be able to take out something new, I feel like Azubu Frost doesn't have much new stuff. Like, they've already showed Lux. I feel like CLG.EU like has shown their cards for like months now. Like, everyone knows
They
what they
play
play.
standard.
Yeah.
Yes, but they're just so good at it that's hard to beat them. The only team that can possibly pull out something new would definitely be TPA. I feel like TPA might be holding a little bit back, and
Scary.
yeah, like I'm excited to see if they bring something new out.
Okay, so that is Scarra's bid. What do you think, Jad? Is there anything you think out there? I mean, you are the game analyst here, so you guys, you are in the office every day looking at these champions, so you knew secret strong champs that you guys feel that may get used?
There were a few predictions that we had coming in, actually. One of them is that Ezreal was going to get picked or banned in every game, and that didn't happen. That shied away from it just in that last setup of
Today
matches.
has been the only
so
difference.
close. Everyone thought it was going to happen. AP Timo was one of my predictions that hasn't happened yet because I think it's absurdly strong in a lot of scenarios. You just have to find the right matchup mid, and it just hasn't presented itself yet. You could probably run it against an Evelyn, but people are too scared of letting Evelyn through because it's just been mopping the floor in team fights. Draven was a prediction, but all the Draven players are gone. I know I'm a Cutie Pie was maybe thinking of doing it. CLG.EU was scared of it. Other than that, it's been a pretty diverse tournament, and for the most part, I've been pretty happy.
So, that is it. Thank you very much for joining us, Scarra.
Thank you very much.
So, next up, we have the match between the Korean powerhouse. It is Azubu Frost. Do not go anywhere. It is going to be CLG.EU. It is the OGN replay. It is all on again, Jat. And honestly, how are these guys going to compete against each other?
I mean, Azubu Frost has shown they're potentially one of the best teams in the world. They had a best-of-5 set against CLG.EU earlier, we've alluded to a million times. They won it 3-2. They dominated their group stage this time, and they took down TSM in that 2-0. It was kind of close. They won the team fights. That was a pretty good set for them, but they've been looking really strong. Whoever wins this gets to go to the World Finals and face TPA, who looks unstoppable right now. How are they going to shut down Stanley in the finals? I was confusing my words there a little bit.
You mentioned McNoon, and honestly, we've had a discussion about the top laners, the top laners. And you know what? Stanley just proved against Moscow 5, he had the nerves of steel. I mean, that is surely the sign of one of the very best players in the world. You know, he's broken onto this scene. Maybe sort of in the American world and the European world, maybe didn't know him really too well. The Asian scene certainly knew him. The teams that have been out there knew him. CLG.EU certainly knew him. And, you know, we have teams like this. This is where you test your mettle. This is really where you become the strongest players of the world. You know, if you've got the nerves. Just thinking back to the Moscow 5 game, we were talking about it. Diamond Prox was really off his game.
It seemed like they might have been, the nerves could have affected them. We have $1 million on the line for the finals here. Even
pressure.
That game was a difference between a guaranteed $250,000 and a guaranteed $150,000, which they had for third and fourth. All of these games just mean so much to these guys, and that was the first time I've actually seen Moscow 5 a little bit shaken, and then you looked at Stanley when all this was happening, and he was just diving headlong into Nunu Cog with Nidalee, completely fearless that entire game. And that's something that Shy did in the group stage. Really, the top MVPs in this tournament, overall, I have to say, are the top laners, because we saw Shy in the group stage, we saw McNoon in the group stage, we've seen Stanley now. They've just been so unstoppable. They've created so much pressure up in that top lane. And now we have Shy against Wicked. Wicked respected for being one of the most well-known top laners. Certainly his Aurelia is legendary. If that doesn't draw a ban, we'll see a great showdown. But you know, Shy beat up on an Aurelia in a previous match with Singed, and it's just, you know what?
Well, we spoke to Kevin about that, actually. We did get to see Kevin earlier, didn't we? And he was saying, look, you know, he got the early kill. Once you're behind, it's very hard to come back with. The irony that I'm thinking of in this tournament is Hotshot, because Nidalee seems to be back in the action. You know, one of the top champions.
Stuck in the jungle.
And Shen has been one of the top champions, and he's now in the jungle. Yet these are two champions that he was absolutely stomping with in Season 1. It's funny. It's funny how things go around in this game. It's, you know, a lot of the tactics that a lot of teams have been bringing into this have been pre-Season 2 or Season 1 things. You know, they've just simply gone about. Circle, everybody's just pulled them back out and says, everybody forgot about this tactic. It works.
The Nunu Cog is a huge example of that in a lot of ways. Even just the resurgence, so much of it was the big three of 80 carries, Ezreal, Corki, Graves. And in that last set, it was Vayne, Kog'Maw, and then a little bit of Ezreal. And it was just kind of an old school throwback. We saw some Sivir bans earlier in this tournament. Nidalee coming back. The team fighting was broken a bit by TPA there because they were back for the split push. We hadn't seen that be successful in a really long time. the jungle invades are getting actually really sophisticated. Every time they invade a red, it seems the teams know what's coming, counter-invade the other red. These guys are adapting very well, and it's just a bit of a cyclical cycle in some of these ways because what's strong that gets forgotten about seems to come back.
A cyclical cycle. That's an interesting choice of words there, Chat.
I may have repeated a few repeats right there.
You wouldn't catch me saying anything on the back of that, that's for certain. But, yeah, so hopefully we're going to get this game underway shortly. Sorry, we're just ripping on each other right here on the cast. Things we say in previous games, they do come back to haunt you, ladies and gentlemen. So, Azubu Frost versus CLG.EU. It is the OGN champions. It is the finals all over again. We saw it in Seoul, Korea. That huge 10,000 stadium, the pressure that they were both under. These teams have been there before. Azubu Frost, 2-0 down, came back to win 3-2. So they have that mental strength, that ability to just come back and absolutely dominate. CLG.EU are going to be coming into this one thinking, we had that game sewn up. A 2-0 would win this series. But Azubu Frost now know what they've got to do to beat them. How do they deal with that? I mean, the mental anguish must be going between these two teams back and forth. On the back of that, as I say it again, CLG.EU have only just beat Team WE, so they've had that playing in their mind for the last 3 days. Azubu Frost have just sat there and, sat back and just worked things out.
And CLG.EU, even though they've proven that they have huge mental toughness coming in, they were preparing 100% for WE before this event. Every single waking moment was about defeating WE and moving on to the semifinals. Whereas Azubu, they've been in the semifinals for quite a while now. Even though they had to prep for 2 teams, they were still doing it in peace. They didn't have that one game resting on their entire chance at $1 million. So they should be the more prepared team here. Actually, right after CLG.EU won, they went and did their interview, and they went just all off into a room and said, we have to finalize our plans against Azubu Frost because they hadn't had the time to do it before. They were so focused on beating WE, which they did come out very strong. And even they had to come back from a game 1 loss to WE. I mean, going all the way back to Saturday. They took it to late game 5 days later and ended up to finish off the series. I think they have the plan, though. I think they really do against Azubu Frost because when you think back, this is going way back to the actual OGN games in Korea, they were going against the standard play. And that seems to be always when they get themselves in trouble. They were picking Diana for Froggen. They hadn't practiced it. This tournament, they're set on only playing things they practiced, only doing their style. And we haven't seen a team actually been able to beat it yet, now that they've fallen back to that.
Yeah, but we know Froggen wants to play multiple different things in that jungle.
He wants to play Lee Sin mid.
Sorry. I might as well say jungle because he wants to play all sorts of bruises in that mid lane, but they've not allowed him to, unfortunately. But hopefully things will get underway certainly soon. So, TPA Assassins in the final. If you've just joined us, they've beaten Moscow 5 2-1. It was an epic match. You're going to be disappointed that you missed it because it was craziness. Who would they want in the final? Azubu Frost or CLG.EU?
That's a really tricky one. I think, based on how aggressive they are and how well they split push, I think they'd want the challenge of breaking the CLG.EU turtle because no one's been able to do it yet. And just seeing it the way they were able to end games with not even the late game team comp, their ability to get towers and Stanley split pushing, I think that would be the ultimate clash of styles that I think they'd like to see.
And, of course, they've practiced with each other all week. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get things underway. Starting out as the red team, they have been a dominant force in the OGN. They are the OGN champions. It's Azubu Frost. And there is Azubu Frost, shy, really one of the players of the tournament so far, Jack.
Says he's only been playing League of Legends for 6 months. The amount of just skill he's picked up. There we see Cloud Templar. He is the just caller of that team. He's the only one who's actually been through his 2 years mandatory military service, and it really shows in the way they listen to his commands. He is the tactical brain of them. Just going through there, actually looking very confident. Zuba's looking pretty good right here. They're happy.
Yeah, and Rapid Star versus Froggen, that's one of the big lanes we've talked about before. He was so delighted during the OGN finals. Gunwung there, one of the honestly one of the best AD carries we've seen this tournament.
And he actually used to play top lane for this team. He's the captain. He goes where they need him. He's been a very strong Ezreal. He's had a couple games, 7 kills, 0 deaths, 5 assists on Ezreal.
Waving the camera.
Doesn't want the sunlight to be on him right there. He's just moving around. And here we have, I think that's Mad Life.
And he's one of the stars in Korea.
Star support.
He is absolutely a superstar, a megastar. He gets more cheers, I think, in Korea than any other player on that team because, they love him.
He has to be the most popular support in the world. Brought out support Zyre, brought out support Lux. He's just an innovator. Right on the other side, though, starting as the blue team, they just took down Team WE earlier today in one game. It's Counter Logic Gaming, Europe.
And of course, these guys are no.
Wicked cannot keep on the Snoopy stare.
He couldn't do the Snoopy stare. He tried his best there. I know, not unknown to you guys. Certainly the American crowd and the European crowd, and to be fair, the Korean crowd as well. Everybody knows them because they've seen them for 3 months in Korea.
They were stars in that league, and they saw them in the finals to that 10,000 fans at the War Memorial. And the top lane for him against Shy is going to be so huge. I have a feeling they're going to leave them isolated. 1v1. Here we have Snoopy. That's a different stare in this way. He's just trying to peer into our souls. Getting a little bit trolled by Froggen in the back, but his early game is so key. We've always said the key to the game, let Snoopy control the pace, because that's always what he needs to do for them. Froggen in the mid lane, that matchup against Rapid Star is going to be so key. They've actually played Anivia against Froggen in the past. He can't do the stare. There's no chance.
He tried. Instead, he just waves. Waves to his fans. And Yellow Pete, we're seeing emotions from Yellow Pete here. He's smiling. He was all super serious business on Saturday. He's definitely come out of his shell a little bit throughout this tournament.
And his Kog'Maw play in the last game against WE was great. He's been struggling a little bit this tournament. There's Crepo spinning around in his chair. They're having a good time. They're keeping it really light in this setup. I think they're going to go for Kog'Maw if I had to make a pick here, because that's what they've had success with. They haven't had success with the big 380 carries, and that's been their fallback. They combo Karthus with Kog'Maw in a lot of these scenarios, and that could be something like what we see.
Yeah, so we'll see how those picks go. They had so long to think about the picks and bans against Team WE. They've just had to sit down, put their heads together, and figure out a plan against Azubu Frost in the last 2 hours. We had a chance to sit down earlier on with the teams. Of course, this was pre-Saturday. Here is what they had to say about their upcoming opponents.
CLG.EU랑 예전에 경기했었을 때도 되게 힘들었어요. 그래서
You just need to scout their top champions. You need to see who their target players are and try to shut them down. Pretty much offense instead of defense. Like, you want them to think of something against you, not you think of something against them. We're all known for being one of the best teams in terms of teamwork and attitude and things like that. I don't care if he's support, I don't care if I'm jungle, I don't care if he's AP carry. Everyone's equal in a team. You're all trying to achieve one goal. You're all trying to win together.
저번보다도 훨씬 많은 팀워크 그런 것도 다 업그레이드 됐고 CLG.EU가 요새 되게 좀 많이 힘들어하는 것 같아서 이번엔 저희가 쉽게 이겨주려고.
Wow, Gunwung saying so winning will be pretty easy. They're not doing well as a team lately. That is confidence.
And even Cloud Templar talked with him briefly. I said, who would you rather have faced, CLG.EU or World Elite? He actually said CLG.EU. They wanted the rematch. They wanted to beat them again, and they think they can take it.
So we are straight into the picks and bans. Let's get things underway, ladies and gentlemen. This is the game that we all wanted to see. It is Azubu Frost versus CLG.EU, and immediately Jackson Blitzcrank being banned out by CLG.EU, aiming at Shy. Don't want that nasty hook that's been going on. It's what Mad Life was using earlier on, and Kog'Maw and Aurelia being banned out by Azubu Frost. Interesting they went for Kog'Maw. We've seen Yellow Pete playing it quite a few times.
They're really target banning again back and forth. We saw Scar earlier said he's doubtful that Orianna is going to get played in the rest of this tournament. Anivia ban targeted at Froggen, and the first pick Jace. This is something CLG has done numerous times here. Not only do they block Shy and the other team from having it, they gain so much disengage and fight control with that acceleration gate from Jace. And that first pick is going to work out well for them.
So how will the Azubu Frost pick against that with the Jace pick? We've seen a number of things from Shy. We've seen Shen in there. We've seen Singed in there. What will they go with? against Wicked's Jace. And you can see Shy there on your screen.
The thing is that Aurelia has shown as somewhat of the counter to Jace, and the fact that they pick it first means what are you actually going to do about it? We know that Stanley played an amazing Nidalee in the past game. That would line up against Jace. Taking the Karthus away from CLG.EU would be very strong. They banned out the Kog'Maw. They're really just taking out what worked for CLG.EU, trying to throw them off their standard play. And even though you say you can't really ban out CLG.EU, you can at least try to make them uncomfortable. And you do that by picking their champions and making them play something slightly different than what they did the last game.
And the Alistair's
Big time
being
Alistair.
picked up. And Alistair, of course, one of the big, strong champions in Korea. Now, the big question I'm going to have for you now is how CLG.EU been playing Evelyn?
I don't think Froggen's actually been playing Evelyn because it got left off of the picker ban. I think what they did here,
He asked us whether Rapid Star played Evelyn, didn't he?
and
We're
they
like,
don't think
it.
that Azubu plays Evelyn, but I don't think Froggen plays it either. So they actually just saved picks and bans. They got the target out, and they weren't fearful of Evelyn. I don't think they're going to end up picking it themselves here. They
He's
get the
looking
Maokai.
happy.
He is looking very happy. They have something planned here.
It's not going to be Nasus, surely.
No way.
After we just heard Skara saying, I can't think of any team comp that Nasus fits into, I would be extremely surprised if they go Nasus versus Jace.
Have Scar eat his words almost immediately if that were to happen, but I am doubtful as well. That Zara, however,
That's a definite support.
could very well be a support, and if they did that, they put Alistair into the jungle, which would be surprising to me because Mad Life's Alistair play against CLG.EU in the 5th game of that was crazy. They made a highlight reel out of everything he was doing to zone people out of fights. Coming in with Shannon York would be pretty strong for them here. Seeing as Wicked hasn't picked in Italy, obviously, because we saw how well that matchup turned out. And Shah's had success with York in the past.
So Yorick has been locked in. Looks like it's going to be Shen in the jungle, which means it's going to be Mad Life support. We're just waiting for the final AD. I would hesitate and guess it's going to be Graves. So we're pretty sure what Azubu Frost are going to pick. It could be Corki, of course. He could go Corki, but he's a pretty popular Graves player, I believe, Gungwon.
Gunwung has shown that he really does subscribe to that big 3, pick 80 carries with dashes. Seeing as Ezreal's already gone, Graves is his natural fallback, especially when he has to deal with something like Maokai going on him. In the past, though, teams up against Maokai would generally pick Corki over Graves because the dash range is more likely to take them into a tower. If Crepo gets to play Soraka, he used to play an absolute ton of this. And if they do this, they're going to go for a Morgana potentially. They try to land a Dark Binding and then combo it up with the Jace. This is something that they were talking about earlier. This is a poke comp, essentially. They try to get a lead, they land the Binding, and they combo it down in.
Bringing out game 1, that means Flash Bananas are available to Crepo. That's where it came from, where that phrase was coined against Moscow 5. However, they're against the Azubu Frost, and Moscow 5 are out of the tournament. Will CLG.EU follow them? That is the question. Final pick. Now we're just waiting for that Morgana to get locked in. Expecting it will do. And will it be Graves or will it be Corki? I'd be surprised if they pull out something else. It could be Draven, which is definitely an interesting one because remember CLG.EU banned out Draven against Dignitas because they said, we simply don't know how to play against Draven.
That would be a level of research that I think would be absolutely crazy for them. I don't think they're willing to play an 80 carry without a blink, especially against Maokai and Morgana. It's too vulnerable in all these scenarios. Tristana, I can see it because of how they know CLG.EU takes it super late game, and that's when Tristana would become relevant because her range would get above 700. But the misfortune, we did see that twice in the group stage already, but that is, just remembering, I'm kind of eating my own words here. They have played 80 carries that don't have blinks. They did play MF twice, and it was very successful. But this is very dangerous. This is the mid-game strategy for them, because if it does get hyper late, he won't have enough safety to be able to take it over. That's a very aggressive pick by Azubu Frost.
So you're seeing the team comps. You know exactly what CLG.EU are going to do because, well, they told us. As simply as that. You know, they told you. I was like, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I just want to see it. I will leak this stuff.
This is a strategy they had prepared really before any of this. It's something they've really wanted to run. It's all about Dark Binding queued into everything else. I'm a little concerned for CLG.EU because this does differ slightly from their standard play that they've been so good at. We haven't seen Froggen on Morgana in forever. We don't know his confidence level. They're so comfortable playing Karthus, and that got taken away from them by Rapid Star. So this is going to be tricky for them. They really have to execute well, and it does feel like they're out of their comfort zone.
Well, they said that this is a tactic we discovered 2 days ago, and we've been practicing it since. So that tells me they've been practicing it with Type A assassins.
That would be a good possibility, and who better to practice against
the finalists
from Taipei Assassins, the team that just beat Moscow 5 and also mimics a very aggressive style. If all CLG wants to do is turtle, who better to practice that against than TPA?
And of course, there's no point saving it because TPA know exactly what it is.
So they have to use
so
it
they
now
have
if they're
to
going to use it
now.
anywhere.
Yeah, so Azubu Frost, how do you counter this one? They've got 2 global ultis in there. They've got the Karthus Shen. They've got the Yorick as well to help out. We know a Mad Life is absolutely awesome on Alistair. The team comps definitely are strong in favor of Azubu Frost, certainly from their point of view of being relaxed on the characters they're with.
I don't think they're going to be able to outpoke because we've seen Mad Life's ability to just initiate fights with Alistair before, even zoning out in the start of them. They have a team comp that can create. They have the Shen taunts. They have the Karthus walls, which we've seen. They stopped the double wall strategy from CLG.EU as well. They had the Jace Karthus walls before. They blocked that. Really, Azubu Frost done their homework as they all now run out of the base. Everyone up top. They might try something sneaky, maybe a delayed Blue Invade or something along that.
So if you've just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, the semi-final has got underway. This is the second semi-final. If you missed the first one, Taipei Assassins versus Moscow 5. It was epic. Taipei Assassins are now in the finals, waiting to see who they will face on Saturday, October 13th, here in the Galen Center in Los Angeles. CLG and the blue team, Azubu Frost as the red team. It is OGN Summer Championships all over again. Who will be facing Taipei Assassins? Some would say a definite shock finalist, but honestly, they have proven themselves. They come against Najin Sword and Moscow 5, 2 really of very strong teams, and they've beaten them both cleanly.
So crazy to think that Moscow 5 is out of this tournament here, and a lot of poke going back and forth. These are the last 3 teams in the world that are here. We're going to see one of these, and they'll be playing for $1 million after this. It's crazy to think about. Everything lies on these next 3 games. They've already played that best of 5. They're poking back and forth, and there's a defensive start by both of these guys. They got the wards down where they wanted them, but other than that, it looks like they're just going to go standard in the jungle.
And we talked about the nerves, the pressure, the adrenaline, the shakes in your hand coming into this match. It's just, I can't even imagine what these guys go through when they have to really come up against these big pressure situations. As it is, we're going to get no crazy invades coming out here. Snoop8, CLG playing it standard, Azubu Frost playing it standard. They've got to start off, they want to be where they're comfortable.
And we did see a double golem take by CLG.EU. There hasn't been much of that this tournament because of all the aggression and craziness that happened level 1. That's going to help them hit level 2 earlier in that lane and try and get onto Woong since he is vulnerable on MF unless he snowballs the lane and gets very far ahead. Want to look over at the top lane though. How's Wicked going to be dealing with Shy's Yorick? Because Nidalee was able to push on very hard to Yorick. Shy has something in his back pocket as well. He's played a fair bit of Yorick already this tournament, and Wicked actually hasn't been dominating lanes on Jace. He's more been using it for the teamfight utility. Whether he's strong enough to go up against Shy, he's going to decide a lot in this game.
Talk about the pressure on the bottom lanes as well. Yellow Pete, Goon Woong. The Asian AD carriers have really been showing strong signs in this whole tournament. Yellow Pete struggled heavily in the last game as well, against Wei Zhao. Wei Zhao was very much out farming, and Wicked already losing a lot of hit points in that top lane, so again, showing the confidence they have early levels in Yorick.
And bottom, they got the double golems, but they haven't aggressed anything before level 2, so Woong happily free-farming that lane. And it's tricky for Yellow Pete. He did have that comeback on Kog'Maw, but every time he's been on Ezreal this tournament, he has gotten out-farmed and generally had to stall and kind of wait for his team to create form. And with the Soraka lane, there's just going to be more of that. It is about the farming for him, and he has to prevent Alistair, Misfortune, an extremely aggressive lane, from getting on top of him.
And we've seen Crepo here on Soraka. It's something he is very comfortable with. I mean, he used to constantly be that strong Soraka player. Obviously, they've won the coin toss. They've got the blue side. So this is probably why they pulled it straight out here. Shy's going to get dived on. A good knockback there. You can see the twisted advance. He should get the knock-up. Will he be able to walk away from this one? Shy's going to have flash available. I believe he's just burnt it out. He's going to get dropped down. First blood for Snoopy. Very nicely played in that top lane. And that should snowball for Wicked in the top down.
Great gank. They did burn everything, but it was absolutely worth it. The lane gank, brute force. Shy did not expect them to come up from there, and it burned his flash. So he's going to be very vulnerable throughout the rest of this. Snoopay could very well go straight back there and try the same gank again because they can pull that off almost whenever they want. It's going to be trouble there for Shy early on.
The bottom lane. Oh, that's hello. Cloud Templar trying to get on Froggen's action. Of course, he doesn't let anyone set the race, not even his own jungler. Meanwhile, down that bottom lane, the ping's gone down. This is Yellow Pete. Is he just simply saying, yep, they are in this bush, we're aware of it? It's that dangerous situation. Ooh, Mad Life is sat. He wants to get on it. Instead, he is going to show himself in a couple of shots in the back there from Yellow Pete. Just trying to force him out of that bush. So the mid lane is currently 30 to 38. Froggen winning in the CS, something he couldn't do against WE Messiah.
And that's a good start for Froggen. Karthus and Morgana is a farm out lane, and there were not enough wards here. Snoopy coming around again for Shy. Shy has no flash.
Snoopy coming around. There's going to be the Sapling going down. Twisted Advance knocks him back again. Wicked's going to get the knockback. This should be another kill. And Shy is in all manner of trouble here. Who's going to pick it up? He's going to have Cloud Templar coming around, tried to support him, but Wicked picks up the kill once again. 1-0-1. Both those now. That's going to help out the jungler as well as the AD carry. The top lane bruiser.
And just look around the map for Azubu Frost right now. That only good ward for them on the map is that one in the top lane river, but Snoopy was able to sneak around. This is sometimes a ward mid can save your top laner's life, and Azubu Frost did not have it there. If they had the ward on CLG.EU's jungle exits, like most teams do, they would have seen Snoopy enter the jungle and sneak around, but since they didn't, it cost Shy his second death of the game, and that is a great start for CLG.EU. When they come out ahead in the early game, it is really difficult for teams to come back on them. I've almost never seen it.
So top lane could be in trouble. Certainly seems to be brutalized, being picked up by Wicked there. In terms of the jungle, I mean, we're seeing an oracle, a very early oracle here from Snoopy.
This is trying to snowball early, but the thing is, this isn't even a naked oracles. He does have that Philosopher's Stone. It's because he picked up the early kills, and when Maokai starts the game early, he's one of the best junglers in the game. There's not many wards, to be honest, for him to go clear out. He's going to go get them now, but Shy is going to be incredibly vulnerable because with Snoopy having that oracles, he's no way he can protect against the ganks. They have to essentially counter-gank them with Cloud Templar. Once Shen is level 6, they will be able to turn some of these things, but that early oracles for Snoopy is going to do so much. Maokai, one of the best snowballing junglers in the game, to be quite honest.
This bottom lane actually very even. We're just going to see Yellow Pete go back and buy, so we'll see what he picks up off the back. You can see that's going to be a double Doran's and a Boots, along with a pink ward picked up by Gunwon.
Pink ward by Gunwon, and that's just warding by committee. We saw WE pretty much let FCZF get everything. Different strategy here by Azubu Frost. With the pink ward, they're looking for control of the brush. Alistair loves to camp, and then he'll headbutt Pulverize out of it. They're making sure that they don't have anything down bottom, and Shy is in big trouble. Wicked turning into a huge lane bully, and that's what's going to happen when you die twice early on to a Jace.
He's just absolutely bullying him. We are seeing an early fade straight away coming out. No Doran's Blades, so Yellow Pete feeling very confident in that bottom lane. Going to go for a Trinity Force directly. And look at that. Shy just absolutely forced away in that top lane. And again, Snoopy creeping around. He's in the tri-bush. Going to go around. Honestly, there's no reason why they shouldn't lane dive this one.
Rapids, Cloud Templar trying to get level 6 as quickly as possible. He's not going to make... No, he just did get level 6. If they lane dive this, they could try to turn around with the channel. Here it comes.
And Yorick hasn't got his ultimate. That's going to be Wicked. Wicked taking a lot of damage. Wicked will go down. And that was a really good turnaround. Shy coming in there to help out. Cloud Templar, coming in to help Shy out there. And really very successful defense.
Now was Cloud Templar's plan. He had to rush to level 6 because that was the only way he was going to be able to defend his top laner Shy. They knew that the Oracles was getting cleared out, and here we see a potential invade by Froggen, but that's not going to be able to do much. Farming out that mid lane, still very even. Really had to give it to Cloud Templar, knowing the only way he can protect his top laner was to get level 6 as soon as possible, and he did just that.
So potential overconfidence, maybe? How would you give that one? Mid lane has been pushed. We're seeing Morgana heading south here, along with Snoopy. I think they may try and make an attempt. No, he's just saying, I'm going to take your race against Snoopy. I know you stood right next to him, but I'll keep on that tax.
I think that was overconfidence by CLG. It's strange because we saw, even in their first game against WE, the double tower dive on the Wicked, the second one got turned around by a global ult, and they didn't necessarily see it coming. Now the next time they do it here, there's the Rapid Star ult on Karthus as well that could come in anytime they try to go aggressive. The Alistair MF, Woong starting to get a slight lead onto Yellow Pete. if they try to get aggressive, Snoopy clearing out those wards. If Snoopy goes in, there will be the Requiem coming in. They have to be very careful in almost every lane right now.
So Woong just using that pink ward to clear out that bottom lane. Snoopy is going to sneak across, but in fact he will pick up the purple ward. So that purple ward just been placed by Woong there, has been taken out already. Aggressive stuff from Froggen in that mid lane, forcing Rapid Star back. He has got Wicked coming down, which means the Dragon is almost certainly on the cards for CLG here. And Snoopy, again, with that Oracle, clearing out the wards. So everything now completely clear. We've got 5 members of CLG all in the river.
And they have to be careful. This Dragon looks like it's going to be... If Cloud Templar goes in for a steal here, it's going to be very aggressive. That's the only thing they can get. They can't win a team fight here. It looks like he might try to steal, though, but CLG trying to zone them out.
So you can see the Misfortune ultimate. Here comes the Karthus ultimate. Will it be enough? Do they manage to get the steal? No, they do not. Snoopy gets it. They're going to turn the attention. That's going to be a kill. Mad Life getting on towards Snoopy. That's an Oracle burn. That's a good turnaround. Cloud Templar's going to go down. Wicked's got away with this one. Crepo might get dropped. Wounds on the back of Froggen. You will get in there. Mad Life taken very low. Hasn't got his ultimate available. Forces the flash from Froggen there. And Wound might be able to pick up on Wicked here. He's going to get another shot. Will it be enough on the turret? Has he got enough to take it? No. Wicked has baited him in. If we could get the camera back down there, we can see they're going for it. On towards the champions. Damn it. Wound's taken down very low. We missed all the action, but he was almost dead on the back. And you can see Froggen is trying to push the pace there.
That was a bit of an overdive, and I was so surprised that Azubu Frost went into that. They got enough damage out with the Misfortune ultimate that they went in for a 4v5. Keep in mind, that entire time, Shy was pushing the top lane, so he's actually surpassed Wicked in minion kills. Now, CLG did get the Dragon, but that fight was even in most regards, and CLG was lucky to get away with their lives there. Really close fight, and that shows the absolute aggression from Azubu Frost. Really, Moscow 5 is one of the only other teams that will fight down men if they see that window. And that's just a preview of things to come for Azubu Frost, because that fight was well played.
Was well played, but the gold advantage slightly in favor of CLG.EU at the moment. Remember, they did get the Dragon. Was it worth losing the Oracle, though, on Snoopy?
That's going to be tricky. The great thing about that is he did have the Philosopher's Stone. He does have a Heart of Gold right now. He lost the Oracle, but he's not too far behind, because you look at the total gold flow, and he's about 400 ahead of Cloud Templar overall, which is the cost of that Oracles. So losing that does set him back, but it doesn't put him behind Cloud Templar.
Yeah, and you can see the gold difference. Snoopy obviously slightly ahead at the moment. Looking at the top lane, Wicked is definitely ahead in the goal there. No surprise, did pick up a couple of kills. AD-wise, Misfortune, Gunwung are definitely ahead on that one. But Froggen is a long way ahead, though. Froggen could get jumped on here. Cloud Templar's going to come round. Pulls the Black Shield down. Pops his ultimate. Can he turn this into a kill? I'm not too sure. Rapid Star's definitely the target. Rapid Star's going to get taken very low. Cloud Templar using the ultimate to save Rapid Star. Oh! And Froggen dodging out away there. Is the Sapling going to get on, though? It didn't go for Rapid Star. Went for Cloud Templar instead. Drew that aggro. And the Ezreal ultimate from Yellow Pete, not quite enough to catch onto them.
65 health there. Froggen living off of the spell vamp, and that Abyssal Scepter rush coming in to fruition there. All the damage from Shen and Karthus was mostly magical. He was barely able to stay alive, and the turn was so close by Snoopy. They're taking a lot of tower damage after that fight, and here comes a Karthus ult. I don't know what it's going for. Maybe bottom? Top? Not quite sure there. Could have just been used to push him off the tower.
It may well just be pushing him off the tower. It definitely wasn't for Wicked there. He was pushing on towards Shy, probably to get them off that middle turret. Froggen was taken fairly low on the back of it. Was expecting to see whether Gunwung was going to turn something on towards Yellow Pete, but it didn't manage to turn into anything. 13 minutes gone in this game. Just 1k difference. 3-2 in kills. No turrets at all. Very, very tight game.
And how is CLG.EU going to progress in this game without Karthus? Because they are so comfortable just playing that style. The front line / mid line of Karthus makes it protect the AD carry, because if, for instance, if CLG.EU wants to get onto Wound, they have to go through the Karthus defile, and that is an extremely hard thing to ignore. On top of that, you'll have the bullet time coming out from MF. It's actually a very strong teamfight phase from Azubu Frost, which is out of CLG.EU's comfort zone. If they have the most confidence going late game, but comp-wise, it's actually going to be fairly close and well fought. This could really just come down to perfect execution in team fights and the smallest things. The post-game interview, actually, Crepo ended up saying, Azubu Frost is one of the best team fighting teams, and we think we're one of the best team fighting teams. It could just come down to straight-up execution by the end of it.
Yeah, just a case of who would come and approach it either side. Very detailed and very respectful, I got to be honest, from both teams. as it is at the moment, the bottom lane is definitely being won by Goonwoo. 127 to 103 CS. Mid lane, we are seeing Frogginess slightly ahead. We saw how aggressive he was feeling. We're seeing it right again here. Puts the Black Shield out there. Pops the ultimate on towards Rapid Star. Tries to dodge those layaways. Has he got enough? No, he hasn't. The Dark Binding caught onto a minion there, and they both back away from that one. Yeah. Neither player wanted to budge there. They were just like, we are going to duel this one out. Straight up 1v1, no junglers anywhere near. Shen Ultimate wasn't available, just went straight fight.
And quite honestly, that minion saved Rapid Star's life. If he hit the Dark Binding inside of the Tormented Soul, he would have been done. And this bottom lane has really started the turn for Azubu Frost. That impure shots from Misfortune is negating a lot of the de-aggroing of Soraka's heal. It's healing for half as much. They aren't able to just brawl them. Even with that early phase, they're just getting out-pushed. Woong and Madlife controlling the brushes a lot, just keeping them pushed back to their tower. And aside from that, they can't create much. Cloud Templar now with an Oracle's Elixir trying to create a lot for his team. The top lane is actually equalized during that Dragon when Shy was able to free farm, and also during that tower dive. He clawed his way back into that game, and that's the mark, potentially, of some of the better top laners, is when they fall behind, they know how to claw back. And the fact that he's come back from 0-2 really speaks volumes to his skill up there.
Union Boots being picked up here by Wicked. Definitely something we haven't seen him take, I don't think, on Jace. Just keep an eye across the board. Now, we did see that Phage being picked up very early by Yellow Pete. I don't think he's backed since then, so we'll see where he's going to go. Probably a Zeal, I would guess. No, it's going to go straight Sheen. Okay, has of course got that Vampiric Scepter in there. Has had it for a while, so no surprise. Wants to put just a little bit of proc damage on towards Goonwoo. Goonwoo also backing off. Probably got enough for a BF sword maybe now. And that's going to be Wicked catch on towards Rapid Star. Trying to force them back. Dragon is available shortly. There's just spawned up. Ping goes down. And that immediately means they're going to push through. Of course, they could go for the middle turret.
We could also see a big fight around Dragon here, because this time both teams want to engage. The fact that Azubu Frost was almost able to 4v5 them in that fight was big, but with this, all the poke that CLG has come out with has taken Rapid Star to half health. He's just running up towards his blue buff right now, if we can get a look at that. But they're not necessarily in position to teamfight with how low Rapid Star is. This is going to cause CLG to ping down on the Dragon, but they're going back with Froggen as well right here. This is most likely going to be a fight around the Dragon. It could just take a lot of time to develop, because neither of these teams wants to engage. Another great poke by Wicked. Look at Rapid Star's health up by the race. That acceleration gated Shock Blast is really chunking him down.
So Rapid Star's going to have to back out here. You can see Froggen returning to lane. Yellow Pete, meanwhile, is farming down that bottom lane.